The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. When I said that WWE was going to have to go with the greatest hits when they brought live crowds back, and in the same vein, I felt like there were going to be some changes that were going to happen to who was going to be holding belts and the kind of spotlights and focus they were going to have on certain stars. Because to get the live fans back, they were going to have to go do things that would have... It's not going to be necessarily for the forward-thinking fans of the company. It's just a matter they need to do something to try to keep things going forward. So rely on the part-time talent and play your bag of tricks of bringing stars back. So that's what happened tonight on SummerSlam. And as a result, a number of stars that were being built up and spotlighted, in the last few weeks, they were taken down a notch. Let's just say that. It's a lot of veterans at the top of the card, a lot of veterans holding titles right now when you look at the whole gamut of what's going on in the company. So we'll do a SummerSlam recap tonight here from Allegiant Stadium. A lot of things going on wrong at Allegiant Stadium, as a matter of fact. We're hearing the reports out of there as well. I want to bring up some of the things that might not have been brought up that were going on in the stadium that I'm sure fans are not going to be happy about. Wasn't so much what WWE could do, but what Allegiant Stadium could not do, which probably got some people up and at it. Made it a very tough experience for them going to the stadium tonight. And nevertheless, it did look really good. Okay, let's just say that. The stadium looked good, 50,000 people. It just looked good. Had a great crowd out there. And they got a show. Now, I personally just don't think this kind of show is for your die-hard layman wrestling fan, your professional wrestling fan. We like the sport of professional wrestling. This was not it. This is sports entertainment. And I feel like when you started seeing all the changes being made, whether it's the talent releases or the changes being done through the digital media team or anything that we're doing, you just see there's a definite direction that the company's going on how they're presenting themselves. It's an entertainment product, and you're looking at it more than ever. I will say there's a few things they've done that have done work really well behind the scenes. They're getting really good in their social media. Like, the social media is not doing too bad. They're definitely getting the TikTok thing going on. They're figuring that out. Because you're starting to figure out some people that are doing it different. And whoever's doing some social media over there, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping it trendy and kind of staying ahead with what's going on to make it look good and to do a lot of different things when it comes to extra features, things like that. It's starting to work out a bit better. So I'll give them that. They're understanding the trends. They're understanding what they need to be doing on the various channels. They're not just doing the same thing to apply to all different channels. They're definitely instilling a strategy for all. And that's what's coming on here. But we're starting to see the divide, the real apples and oranges differentiation of what WWE does and what I have deemed the New Wrestling Alliance does. And I said this on TikTok earlier today when I heard about the news, when I got to go and see CM Punk's debut, which I'm going to bring up a little bit later on from AEW. I'm going to say this, is that you see where AEW is becoming this haven. I call Impact Wrestling the gateway, but AEW has become a haven, and the invisible door has become not just a gimmick, but something more. When you have stars that are getting to go ahead and ply their trade from different areas around the world, seeing AEW as a place to go ahead and get the exchange of talent and really bring in different wrestlers to work together, great wrestlers from around the world, and great wrestlers that deserve to get a better spot. I mean, you're going to see that. There's still quite a few names that might still be heading over to AEW that have been abandoned by WWE either a couple of years ago or most recently. The latest report from Dave Meltzer is that Bray Wyatt, after his non-compete is done, would also be looking to go ahead and head over. Ric Flair has already been rumored to head over that way. There's a report on that. And then we know Bryan Danielson is still being rumored and could very well be in New York at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show, the Dynamite Grand Slam in September. There's a lot going on. So we're seeing that. We're seeing the matches being put together in between organizations. And there's a lot there. So it's a lot. And it's good stuff. And I did not get a chance to watch Impact Wrestling's Emergence, but I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about what they actually had in terms of the show and what was being done. So I'll bring that up in a few minutes. And I got a chance to go and catch what they did. But we'll go ahead and look at it nevertheless and see what they did after all. Now let's go ahead and move along into the SummerSlam show. This show really just felt generic across the board. The matches were good, but the storylines, as we always say, lack any real forethought or thinking, and just really, there's not enough that's being done to help build up. And a number of outcomes that, for unforeseen circumstances, really change things up as well. So let's go ahead and bring it up. Now, first off, Big E and Baron Corbin in the pre-show match, and now so that Big E could go ahead and get his Money in the Bank briefcase back. So, in case there was any chance that was even going to be used, but we saw that was going to happen. As far as I know, with Big E and that Money in the Bank briefcase, I mean, when you look at what this company's doing, they're obviously not going in a direction where Roman Reigns will be waiting for Big E to go and cash the briefcase in, or if that's going to be the place to go. Or will Big E decide to go ahead and cash in on Bobby Lashley? We don't know. But right now, there's not any direction to see if Big E actually does cash in, if he gets the belt, or he loses the chance when he gets to go and cash in, if he loses the match. This company doesn't want to go ahead and have any young and upcoming stars necessarily holding any main event belts. The mid-card belts, sure. But main belts, no. It's not looking like that's the way it is. And it's pretty obvious tonight what they were doing. The title holders that matter, they're going to hold belts. They're going to be veterans. They're going to be people that have been in the company since the beginning, that have had the track record, have the longevity. They're going to be the ones that hold it. And then anybody younger is not going to get that spot inadvertently like it would be before. That's not the way it's going to be anymore. This is a traditional system where they're going to go ahead and let the older people, the veterans, the established town, are going to be the ones that stay on top. And it's going to take a long time for any young stars to be brought up. But that's why when NXT has been stagnant and it's not being used as a developmental territory, they're going to stick to this plan. Because they didn't like what they got from NXT in general, what they're going to be doing with that. Because in this SummerSlam show, this is, of course, a traditional show where you're going to see marketable big box office of the caliber that WWE likes. The ones that they want to have headlining shows, their headliners, those are the ones that are up in front and center, including your part-timers. Just like a good WrestleMania show, just like a good SummerSlam. No surprise to me there at all. So in the show, Randy Orton teaming with Riddle, RK Bro, they beat AJ Styles and Omos. I mean, you're going to just take this storyline with Randy Orton and Riddle and just go with it. Riddle, they have something behind. He's been given a chance to go and get a push. And this attachment to Randy Orton, there might be some break, some falling apart in the middle of it, somewhere down the line. But the tag team belts are on them. Randy Orton is in this storyline, and that's why he's part of where he is. And AJ Styles the same thing, which is why in the tag team title run to have Randy Orton in this right here does make sense. So it'll get a little bit of the younger and old to kind of go along with it. You know, veteran working with the younger kid. It's a good old-fashioned tag team gimmick to go along with. Why not? Then after that, I really was surprised that Alexa Bliss and Eva Marie was dropped here in the second match on the main event. And Alexa Bliss wins in less than 4 minutes. And Doudrop, she takes Eva Marie's coat and just runs off, and okay, whatever. there's not much to be said about any of these matches that really just stand out. When you think about the storylines that are being told, like the AJ Styles Omos thing, well, the Arcade Bro storyline is just Randy Orton and Riddle without any real, nothing more important about what they're doing when it comes to who their opponents are. Because it's really just a team that's the storyline themselves. And that's what they built it to, so it's suitable. It's satisfactory. Damian Priest wins the U.S. title over Sheamus, and that's what the U.S. title is going to be. It's not a title that's going to be put up anywhere. Look at this. Intercontinental title. Shinsuke Nakamura came out with an appearance, but was not made a big deal out there for this. And Damian Priest getting this here, that's a good thing for him. It's promising. It's just like where Big E won the Intercontinental title. So the IC title is meant for stars that might be looked at and might be groomed for greater things down the line in about 5 to 7 years. Usos over the Mysterios for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. We've seen all these matches, or we've seen the variations, the dancing partners working together, and to finally see these matches together, which we saw rematches, right? We're seeing Usos and Mysterios. We saw it rematch after rematch after rematch, and, it's getting a little bit fed up. It's just nothing much there. Now, where we really may take a turn is Becky Lynch returning tonight. So Bianca Blair was scheduled to take on Sasha Banks. Why the company, even though they know that Sasha did not appear, in Charlotte on Saturday for a house, or on Friday for a house show, and that both Bianca and Sasha were apparently not showing up for matches, but they go ahead all the way through with the promos with Bianca and Sasha, still talking about the matches scheduled, and then they just keep it on the books, and we get to the match, and the announcer says that Sasha can't compete. So we're going to get Carmella instead. You want to talk about a letdown, and you want to just piss some people off. That's what they did. But I was still waiting for the payoff. I was saying, okay, if they're going to go along with Carmella and Bianca Belair, they have to have something else under their sleeve. They just can't. I was hoping for Sasha to come on out and just sneak attack. That's what I really thought was going to happen, but no. Becky. Great to see Becky back. Becky Lynch is back. She's an important name. Another rabbit out of the hat that they could use for SummerSlam. They decided to take two rabbits out of their hat today. Decided to go into their bag of tricks. Take two big stars that could debut tonight on SummerSlam. Makes sense. And now there's some importance to what they did. But then it's what they did with Becky Lynch after all. So what was it? Last week we had the contract signing with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks and that whole setup for that. And where Sonya Deville was so adamant to make sure they both signed, but all of a sudden then Becky Lynch just comes in and says, how about we have a match for the title? And Bianca says yes. No rhyme or reason. We don't need a contract signing for that. We're not going to kind of make any alterations to that. I doubt they're even going to say anything about it. But much like Brock Lesnar destroyed Kofi Kingston after a heralded run with the WWE Championship, on SmackDown, they say, oh, no. We're squashing Kofi Kingston in about a minute. And that is exactly what Becky Lynch did to Bianca Belair. 27 seconds. So her 4-month reign ends. Done. So you ask yourself, okay, well, how did this work out for Bianca Belair? Well, you had her feuding with Bayley, with Carmella, and shortly with Sasha Banks. That's what she got in her run. Was she any good at it? She was just a title holder. She was just holding the title. Did she get any better as a result between WrestleMania and now? I'm going to say no. So did it make any difference if Bianca did not have the belt? I say it was not a bad time to have her lose. I actually thought Sasha was going to win. But to go ahead and make Bianca get humble like this, I would have preferred to be Sasha doing that because we had the matchup was scheduled. But Becky Lynch coming in, and the way they just decided to go ahead and squash down Bianca Belair, and whatever kind of feel-good moment or feel-good favorite that she was, well, that's all squashed and done. Now, it's a humbling experience for Bianca Belair. She's been heralded and has been propped up from her run at NXT to now. Like, she's had that, right? Do you know that's been going on? So Bianca's been, really, she's been put on a pedestal. I'm not, and this is nothing about anything else. Don't take anything more into this. But she has been propped up on a pedestal. She has been made as a big star. And then Becky Lynch takes her down a peg. A big peg. I mean, if Becky Lynch gets a chance to go ahead and there might be a rematch, I don't know. Or if Bianca Belair just moves on to something else. Sure, the IWC is livid that they would do this to Bianca Belair, and this is the way Becky Lynch comes back. Got it? Yeah, they're not going to go to Charlotte and Becky. They weren't going to go to that, I guess. I didn't get the understanding of why Becky just comes right in and goes to the SmackDown side. I know why, because it's on Fox and that's a big star. So let's not, pick up where we left off, where Asuka inherits the belt and Becky wanted to go get that belt back. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to have her go over and go to SmackDown, no particular reason, and just take a belt back. That's it. Now, she could very well go over to the other side and go Becky 2 belts again. They could try to do that. But, yeah, people don't like this Bianca Belair thing. I don't like the turnout of this. I would have preferred that Bianca had a fighting chance and lose. But, I mean, she already was getting the short end of the stick in the confrontation with Sasha leading up to the match. So she wasn't going to get that win. But this is where I'm going to say. So Bianca losing like this, it sucks. It's not the way it should have happened. But I will say this, that Bianca Belair, we need to see a humbling of her, because she was, kind of young green when you kind of look at the whole gamut of her being on this main roster. And that there was just no chance for her to kind of just, take a hit and fall down a bit. Try to show the lesson that, you're this young star. You've already seen this early success. Well, it's taken away from you. Chip on your shoulder. Now you have to go and fight back, because the babyface run that she had and what she was giving as promos, sure, it's kind of like an Olympic inspirational kind of thing, but it wasn't resonating. And it wasn't resonating, you were doing it in front of the Thunderdome. Could you keep doing that in front of live crowds? No. But that's why they took the belt off of her. Because Bianca Belair and her run was a result of the Thunderdome era. And when they want to have somebody holding onto that belt now in front of that crowd, the layman, casual, generic WWE fan base, not the diehards that are going to go ahead and crap on AEW because, oh my goodness, WWE can't do wrong. And we're going to be the ones to complain about them, not you, right? They see this here and they're going to just say, well, the fan base is going to go ahead and cheer and pop over Becky Lynch 10 times over Bianca Belair. And that's on the company. I think they didn't do a horrible thing. Like, listen, they gave her the run and it wasn't resonating. It's an NXT star that, listen, has the gimmick, has the look, and is one-dimensional. We need to see more of a development of Bianca Belair. She's not completely developed. She's still young, and she needs more to add to her repertoire in terms of her personality. She's got the moveset, she's got the work rate, but she's got to have something more of her personality. It's just one-dimensional right now. There has to be more layers to her. I mean, Sasha Banks has a lot of layers. Bayley has a lot of layers. Charlotte has a lot of layers. We need more dimensions to Bianca, because then she just kind of just feels kind of like cardboard. Very just static. Nothing dynamic about her. And sure, there's a dynamism about who she is and her emotion and her excitement and whatever kind of adrenaline rush she gets, but that's just like just babyface. Let's give some more edge to her. And they were trying to do that right now with Sasha Banks because we're going to say, okay, meanest, baddest, and go more towards the direction she was in NXT because the main roster, they decided to use Bianca Blair differently. Now, it doesn't mean that she didn't do well in this babyface run, but there's more that can be done with her. Could we see her change and we'll see a real alteration to her after this? Because now she's taken this loss and taken a bit of an embarrassing loss in front of the biggest crowd she's had. And the booking decision was made. How is she going to go ahead and bounce back? Because that's the question. You look at it from a storyline perspective and then also from a morale perspective for her. How does she bounce back from this? She's got to go and take that chip on her shoulder and she's got to push. She's gotten the run. She got the chance here. And the company felt like, well, we're not going to keep the belt on her. We're going to go back to tried and true. We're going to go back to the man. That's what we want having the belt. And we're not going to really do much to work Becky Lynch's way to get there. We're just going to insert her here tonight, make this title challenge. Sasha Banks is bowed out. For whatever reason, we hope she's doing okay. And Becky Lynch comes in, takes the win in quick fashion, in dominant fashion. And Bianca Belair's left embarrassed and left humbled. It could be a good experience for her, Bianca Belair, after this, because then she's just feeling what the company is. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. It's that kind of feeling. I don't think she's had that kind of reckoning yet, that kind of humbling. This is what's happening now, because she was never treated like this in NXT. And getting all the way coddled up here, all the way up, well, the old school thought process of the WWE and Vince McMahon probably says, you know what? Get back to Becky. It doesn't matter about Bianca. Let's get it back on the veteran, who I've had here for a long time. She takes the belt. Put it back on a draw. Because they're not going to feel that Bianca Belair draws. Becky Lynch does. And they're not wrong. But that doesn't mean that we can't feel bad for Bianca Belair taking this hit. But this is what they're going to do. The company's just ruthless like that. So Bianca, I just hope that she gets the understanding of what happens here, why this is. Hey, the wrestling business is a cruel mistress, just like radio is, right? So the cruelty that comes here, the unfortunate action here, I mean, if she's, the kind of athlete that she should be, if she's not already, is one that will persevere, come back stronger. And then you have this right here for SmackDown this Friday. That'll obviously get people kind of interested. The first thing of the night that might get some interest. Move along. Drew McIntyre against Jinder Mahal. Wow, this match. If this was a 5-minute match, it felt like 15 minutes. The one sign in the stands, just needs Slater, definitely tells you everything about this match because Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal have been made serious. Drew McIntyre coming back, had the long title run in the Thunderdome era. Immediately when the crowds are back, he loses the belt, and he's been stuck in this feud with Jinder Mahal, which has not been good. But it's a reason for both of them. I mean, what are you going to do? So they put this together. They had the match. It's what it is. Nothing special. Charlotte Flair wins in a triple threat match to take back the Raw Women's title. No surprise there. Nikki A.S.H. in the same vein as Bianca Belair. Hey, had the cash into the briefcase. Was it even a 1-month run for her? Done. That's it. Oh, no, 5 weeks, right? 6 weeks from Money in the Bank to now. So that's it. And I think that's all you're going to get from Nikki A.S.H. getting any close to a women's title again. But the character has already been established. She did get to be a champion. And now you just keep that up. And it becomes this kid's character that we can just keep bring out with, and she'll be used for something good. But in terms of anything, in terms of a main event status, no, she's going to be a mid-carder for life the way this gimmick is right now. Rhea Ripley not. So Nikki A.S.H. takes the defeat in the submission, takes the figure 8. Rhea Ripley does not take anything. So Rhea Ripley is kind of out of the mix. They can always go back to Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. And I have no doubt they're going to probably go back to that again, because there is nobody else they have. There's nobody else they're going to trust in that women's division to go ahead and put right there in that mix. So I think Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair continue, unfortunately, the feud they had before all this. Back at WrestleMania, back in NXT. It's back to them again. That's what I feel like it's going to be. And no more of this third wheel with Nikki A.S.H. coming in and kind of disrupting things. Now they can just go back to that original storyline they had, which was not doing well, but they're going to do anyway. Okay. 2 matches did stand out tonight. Edge and Seth Rollins. I mean, this was the best booked match on the card and one of the best matches, period. Edge and the Brood gimmick, cool touch. These guys, this is like, this is the WWE style match. This is like it could have been a main event match itself. Like, it was that good. These guys are main event stars. This was a main event feud without a belt. And the company needs to be capable of having more of these. But with Edge being in and being able to do what he wants to do, yeah, okay. He's already a heralded veteran main eventer, Hall of Famer. And Seth Rollins is in this match, and they definitely take advantage of having this feud, which is good. These are the kind of matches that WWE really does relish in. They do well in. They do well with. And it was very good. I mean, really was. Like, these are the kind of matches that I like. I mean, it's not going to be high flying. This is the kind of matches I expect from WWE. And also the Roman Reigns John Cena match. That's what I expect from this company. Those kind of matches. And that is their bread and butter. Like, when you see what they do, the matches that actually matter that they really put together, it's this, I mean, it's kind of generic. It's kind of just put together. There's not a whole lot of variety or a whole lot of things when it comes to super creativity or trying to go backlifts and go super acrobatic. It's physical. It's pretty simple. Everybody has it's again the 5 moves that everybody has. And that's exactly the way they like it. You expect the moves, you know what they are, variations, a couple other simple, modified, basic moves. But yeah, the matches are basic with a basic storyline that does fit. This is the formula that has worked for them for a lot of their main event feuds going back forever. Edge and Seth Rollins is kind of like, it feels like a throwback. Does feel like an attitude throwback. And the way the match is booked for pay-per-view, lots of near falls. Let's use other people's moves. So, I mean, Edge using the Glam Slam to try to pin Seth Rollins, tribute to his wife. All those things, okay, all well and good. But the match for 20 minutes, it's satisfied. And Edge winning was good. I mean, Seth Rollins didn't have to have the win. But the match went well, and I think Edge getting his win back because he's going to keep working, that's what they want to do. So those kind of matches are good. I don't think anybody's going to complain about Edge and Seth Rollins. That was a very good match. One of the best matches of the night. Then you got Bobby Lashley against Goldberg. And yeah, Goldberg, he is an old man. I mean, the entrance always looks great. He could talk for about a minute or two and he'll do fine. But he can't work in the ring anymore. Like, he stumbles and he just doesn't have all the wherewithal to do the kind of match that he's been doing. Like, they want Goldberg to do the Goldberg that, beat Hulk Hogan. They want the Goldberg that, did the 160 76-0, whatever it was. Like, they want the streak Goldberg. They want the WCW Goldberg. He's 54 years old. It's not going to happen. But they keep trying. And they'll work a set with him. Lashley did the best he could. Lashley getting the win, the correct move. 7 minutes. That's all you're going to get out of Goldberg. You just should have kept it shorter. But why they do this and they kind of stretch it out a little bit sucks. Like, you're not going to get anything out of him. And then Gage getting the full Nelson from the Hurt Lock from Bobby Lashley. So they decided to go to Crown Jewel with it. I mean, they're going to do it. What do you expect from these people? They're stubborn. They will double down. You're not going to criticize them, and they're going to make a change about it. It's not going to happen. They'll just double down. That's what they're doing now. They're not even concerned about who goes away to other organizations because they failed them. They're not worried about that. They're just going to go ahead and say, you know what? We're just going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to double down on some of our things. Oh, you think we should treat Bianca Blair better? With the whole story with Sasha Banks? Well, you know what? We're going to bring in Becky Lynch. We're going to bury her. Right? That's what they're going to do. So some of the decisions they make. Nikki A.S H. Oh, maybe you felt a little bit of sympathy. No. Charlotte Flair. We're going to bury Nikki A.S H. We're going to take her out. That's it. Roman Reigns, John Cena. What a well put story for this match. And John Cena did not get all the offense right here. Roman Reigns doing some of the best heel work he's done in his career. Mouthing off, jaw-jacking. He was great tonight. This match was really good. I mean, a boatload of near falls. Of course, with a John Cena match, let's do some other people's moves. Let's do the ooh-ah. Let's do the spear. Let's do other things. Sure. And so Roman Reigns retains. And if you need to find out, well, we already know Roman Reigns has already beat everybody else. So who's left? Well, nobody thought, everybody was thinking, oh, Rock maybe. No, Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar now decides to go ahead and scruff it up a bit. Looks good on him. Ponytail and a good frothy beard on him. He looks jacked. And Roman Reigns playing kind of chicken shit. Good. I don't know when they're going to put that match. I mean, you're not going to go Brock Lesnar. I mean, you're going to go Brock Lesnar right away at Extreme Rules, or are you going to go somewhere else? But there's a story that can be said right there. The one thing that's not being told that we got to figure out on SmackDown, like there's a couple things on SmackDown that will obviously, there are enough cliffhangers to keep people interested. The Becky Lynch debacle, people are going to wonder what's going to go on there, what Bianca Blair and how she responds. And then this Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar thing, that's going to get everybody watching as well. So you got that going for you. And that's good. I mean, who else did you have for Roman Reigns? He's defeated everybody. So bringing in Brock Lesnar, that fits. And I just don't want Brock to win. I don't want him to take the belt. But the story with Paul Heyman and the odds he's going to have where he decided to opt for the tribal chief and he's no longer going to be associated with Brock Lesnar. Well, Brock then is going to have to play pretty much babyface here. What are we going to do? And that's where we're at. And that's SummerSlam. That's where we're at as a whole. So the show was a C tonight. It was fine for what it was. It was a show. I mean, it didn't have that kind of feel like it was something extra special. Didn't have like a WrestleMania feel. I did not care for the celebrities coming on. The Miz segment sucked. I mean, and by the way, Xavier Woods doing Razor Ramon. I get it. Let's have some fun here. I hated the segment. It was not, especially not for me. And, bad prop with the water gun into the 5-gallon tank. Xavier Woods doing Razor Ramon. I think some people probably the younger fans probably didn't even know what he was doing because a bit of an antiquated thing. Even when you have, using a little bit of what he used in the NWO and his Razor Ramon character. It's, I didn't care for it. And, Tiffany Haddish coming out to do interviews, or Mario Lopez. Yes. I mean, the Peacock thing you get these antiquated celebrities off of here, okay? You don't have influencers. Get influencers. You want to get a younger crowd, but they're not trying to go for a younger crowd. They want this established, older, cash-paying crowd. Now, let's talk about that, by the way, about the fact that, the concessions and things that couldn't be done at this show were hurting a lot, because we're learning about a disaster at Allegiant Stadium tonight. Payment systems were down. The bars were closed. No food and overflowing toilets. This is this is bad. Network in Vegas put the story out, and they said that the event was a complete disaster. From stars who refused to show up because of the upcoming vaccine mandates in the stadium, to the complete meltdown of their cat. So, is that what happened? Was it a vaccine mandate that could have had trouble for the stars that couldn't show up? Was that the problem? Then there was an issue for the cashless payment systems. Fans got to see what happens when you push issues here. So they said that now this story is very political, but I'm going to just say what they actually put up here. One Twitter handle Slice Wrestling said that cashless payment system was down, concessions stopped, no food or drinks could be bought, bars closed early in Allegiant, the Wi-Fi was dead, the toilets were overflowing, the PA system was not working properly, and yes, no pyro. Then more, zero beer sales due to the Allegiant Stadium being cashless and the internet being down. So no beer in the stands for people. No pyro. There were chants of "We want beer" at Allegiant Stadium. Shift 4 Payments, who is named the official credit card processing company of the Las Vegas Raiders and Allegiant Stadium, posted on their status page they were aware of a card processing issue with their data centers. Big problems there. Another thing that was going on with things right there. Not good. Not good. All right, we're going to move along. Got to talk about CM Punk. We're seeing another watershed moment. The CM Punk debut was pitch perfect. From the ice cream bars, coming out the cult of personality, being in the United Center, 16 years roughly removed from being in an area which he felt was professional wrestling, and now feeling he is in another home of professional wrestling. His purpose of coming to AEW to work with the young stars, already naming Darby Allin as his first opponent at All Out. I mean, wow. So much going on there. Fantastic. Really, really good stuff. A very poignant promo. His comments towards the company, towards WWE, were very important. Made a lot of sense. You look at everything that's going on right now with this new wrestling alliance, the excitement, the momentum, the wrestling, the fun, the atmosphere. We always talk about where WWE used to have that kind of feel to it, but that's because he adapted from somebody else that did the same, that had a certain feel to it. Because we all know that what ECW was doing, WWE decided to take some of that and just amplify it. And they lived off of that for a long time. And really, there was also a thing about that era, about the group that they had of people that were having fun out there. And things were just kind of a little bit, wasn't so stiff, a little more loose. But this company is so corporately structured right now, you just can't have fun now. There's just not a whole, it's just contrived fun if there is anything. But you can just tell that the wrestlers there, they're in a certain way right now. There's a certain style, no freedom. They're there to perform a certain way in the manner that
Vince McMahon and his team wants. When you go with Tony Khan and you see what the other organizations like a Billy Corgan or a Scott D'Amore and Don Callis and Ed Norholm or Darian Roldan or the folks in New Japan, and you see what they're doing, you see and the level of fun they're having out there, and the camaraderie of working with other companies. I mean, looking back last week, New Japan doing resurgence, and having all those Impact and AEW stars embedded into it with all the great matches that they had, which I didn't even catch the whole thing. I caught some of it. And then Impact Wrestling doing the same thing, also having all their matches. By the way, so last night at Emergence, Matt Cardona beat Rohit Raju. 8-person tag team match, Decay over, followed by No Way, Savannah Evans and Tasha Steelz. Steve Macklin over Petey Williams. Madison Rayne over Taylor Wilde. Ace Austin wins the 4-way match to determine the number 1 contender for the Impact World Championship. I love that. I've always said Ace Austin needs to be brought back up. Josh Alexander over Jake Something for the X Division title. I'm very happy about that. Another mixed tag team match. Matthew Raywalt and Deonna Purrazzo beat Trey Miguel Molina. Good Brothers retain the Impact World Tag Team titles over Rich Swann, Willie Mack, Vaughn by Design, Rich Swann and Willie Mack, and Vaughn by Design. And Christian Cage won in 12 minutes over Brian Myers to retain the Impact World Championship. And to think Christian Cage now being part through Impact, through AEW, and just feeling just like there's no strict guidelines. And there's just certain stars that can work other places, and everybody's working with everybody. A good association, a good alliance of companies that are willing to go ahead and trade talent and willing to work with each other to help better each other while they're working on themselves to make their own individual companies better. So we've had the focus now. When you look at what AAA did with Triple Mania last week and New Japan did with Resurgence. And then we talk about next week with NWA, which also is doing quite a bit of things with some of the stars that are going on here as well. We'll get to talk about that next week, which will be fun. All of that culminates in what is being done overall with this new wrestling alliance and the fun and the alternative to WWE that we needed, sorely needed. It's now at such a point. And for those of you fans that are so upset and bitter and just really frustrated beyond comparison to what WWE is doing right now, and when you're going to see what they do with NXT, the bastion of that independent feel that you like, that's going to get blown up anytime now because they're going to go developmental. And I even feel like that the style of wrestling that you saw in NXT now for the last, 4 or 5 years, that's going away. They're going to find people that work WWE style with maybe a little bit of variations here and there. Some people might actually have a little bit of acrobatics or high flying, but that's only going to be relegated to a couple. Like a Ricochet is a very rare breed, and I think that's what they want to do. They're not going to do lucha style. They're not going to do strong style. They're going to do WWE style. Very generic, traditional. Their style of wrestling that Vince McMahon likes. They're going to do that. The bread and butter. That's what they're going to do. Meanwhile, AEW gives you strong style. Or you might see extreme matches. You might see, whatever. Like there's a different thing going on with all these other companies. That they have various styles and they let the creativity of these stars and their gimmicks shine through. It's working. Now, they're not getting the numbers yet in terms of ratings and revenue. Like AEW is standing up because they did get 15,000 plus at United Center. Or 16, whatever it was. But they're not going to get themselves, and they're not going yet, and I don't know if they have to, where they need to go and pull 50,000 people or 80,000 people like WWE wants to. Also interesting that Money in the Bank is going to be held at Allegiant Stadium next year. So if they're going to be in that stadium, that means Money in the Bank is getting elevated. And why are they doing that? July 4th weekend? Because they need something in Vegas to promote. Because Vegas doesn't have anything to really push out there to get tourists to come in. So why not get the wrestling fans in the town 4th of July weekend? It's pretty smart. Because they can find things for boxing weekends, they can find other things that are going on. And if Allegiant Stadium is going to offer, and Nick Khan's able to make this deal with this big Vegas venue, hopefully they get their shit together, then it'll make sense. You know what? To have that regular spot in Vegas to be able to do shows at, and then you're going to force Money in the Bank to be a bigger show because you got to fill that stadium. And if that's something that's going to happen more often, that's probably pretty good too, because then the company has to really force themselves to do better. Because I think that's what they want to do. Probably some of their bigger pay-per-views are going to continue to do that. So it's not just WrestleMania. Maybe we're going to start seeing where Royal Rumble must be in a big venue. All your big four pay-per-views are going to be doing that. And now, not only do you have Crown Jewel, the Saudi Arabia shows that are coming back. Who knows what they're doing the Super Showdown in another venue, in another place around the world, eventually. But if they keep getting these big stadium shows and you have to promote for it, and it's not going to be an easy sell to get 50,000 people in Vegas unless you really put some together, then they're going to have to work hard. They're going to have to push themselves to make it happen. And they don't have enough part-time players to make it work, so they're going to have to build from within. But by that time, the NXT organization is going to have to be put into a new place, and they're going to have to build from scratch again. That's what needs to happen for WWE. Stay in their lane, work their style, quit trying to go and play. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're trying to get the biggest amount of people happy. That's what they care about. The biggest majority of people, the lowest common denominator. They're not going to worry about all these other fans that are out there on the internet. They don't care about the internet fans. But the internet fans will watch, and they will criticize, and they will follow from afar. That's what's going to be. And I'm not going to go into a whole thing about CM Punk and the whole joint of that, and everybody feeling like this is like, oh, what a very emotional, sentimental moment. Listen, it was a great moment for AEW last night. It's significant, and it is a needle mover. The ratings will go up because of this. They could touch 1 million viewers. They might be able to get as much as Dynamite got on Wednesday night. That's very well possible. But the kind of wrestling that the internet wrestling fans really want, they're liking what AEW and the other organizations are doing. That's what it's coming down to. But meanwhile, there's going to be some fans that are always going to be just die-hard WWE fans. They're going to be a certain way, and they're going to act a certain way, and they're just going to be pissed. There's a whole lot more we could talk about this week on the program. See what Raw has as fallout. And we just wait. Again, CM Punk will talk probably again, and we'll get some kind of fallback from that going forward. And I'm sure there's going to be some other news going on then. But that's your post show for tonight. There's a whole lot to be said. Just don't keep yourself so focused on what WWE is doing right now and expect them to go ahead and give you something really special, because they're not. That's just the way it is. Come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.